Go ahead. All right, folks, we'll go ahead and call the October 16th Budget Committee meeting to order at 6 o'clock. To begin, we have had one meeting to date. We did do a restructuring. There are a need for a few changes. So if there's no objections, if a member would like to make an amendment to amend the agenda to include restructuring.
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, we'll go ahead and add that in. Is there any other additions to the agenda that any member would like to make? Can you get a motion to approve the agenda then as presented with the
So I'll make a
amendment?
motion to approve the agenda as,
Amended?
thank you, amended.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so I don't have to lead the meeting anymore. We'll start with the restructuring. So last meeting, we did have a conversation. There was a nomination for chair and vice chair. I did find out after the fact, and I was not aware of, or didn't pick up on it to begin with, that unfortunately Drew cannot be a chair or vice chair being the selectman's rep. So that vice chair position is still vacant. My understanding is Ms. Varney would like to slide into the vice chair's position if the board wishes, and Brock has agreed to take the chairman's position, again, if the board wishes. But I will leave that up to the board to make a motion, and
I make a motion that Brock Mitchell is the chair of the budget committee and that Elizabeth Barney slides into the vice chair position.
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful. And I will turn the meeting over to Brock Mitchell.
All right. So moving forward, I guess we've taken care of that. So we'll go to approval of the agenda's done. We'll go to old business.
Which we currently don't have
We
any
don't have.
business.
So new business.
All right, so new business, you finally have your books. This is the first time you're getting them at this point in time. What you have in the books right now are all the budgets that have been through the budget committee. On the top, you'll see them stamped BOS approved in the date. Those are the budgets now that you folks will be hearing and focusing on. We only have very few budgets that have not gone through the Board of Selectmen. The reason why is I'm waiting on figures from Primex for our benefits and insurance. Once those are figured out, the last few, I think there's probably maybe 3 or 4 remaining budgets that we have to cover. And the plan is hopefully on Tuesday night, we will be able to conclude and get everything to you folks. So what we can do tonight, and I did this with the board and it's with the Board of Selectmen, seemed to work all right. So we can go through some of the budgets, some of the smaller budgets, and then the board can make a decision as to whether or not the budget is you feel comfortable. There are some small budgets with very minor changes. A lot of them are payroll related, and that's it. I've pretty much instructed most of the department heads that we're focusing on covering payroll because we're 2 years behind on payroll with the default. So most every change you're going to see in most of the budgets is only payroll related. It's not, most of the rest of it are level funded. But we went through some of the smaller budgets because this is the first time you're seeing them. Then you can decide whether or not you want to take a vote. Some of the larger budgets, obviously, I would like you guys to digest the information. And next meeting, I will bring department heads in, like the police chief, the fire chief, DPW director. But if you want, we can, so we can be productive tonight. I can go through a lot of the administration budgets and see if we can get through some of those tonight. And then your list won't be quite as lengthy when we get into the big budgets. So if you want to start, we can start with administration. And I highlight for administration, there were only 3 changes. So full-time wages was the change that we needed to focus on. To offset full-time wages, we took out $20,000 in part-time wages. So what we did is we took a position and consolidated those duties between two of the existing employees on the second floor. And we eliminated a position to, in an attempt to offset salaries and wages. The only other change is benefit buyout went up just a little bit, and again, that's reflected by wages. Other than that, the entire budget is level funded. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So, the summary, the backup, the justification.
Yes.
Sheet under full-time wages. Oh, I see. You're basing it off of a 24 because that had already included a previous wage increase. I think I just answered my own question. Thank you.
Yes.
No, I know that in the earlier on select board meeting, I had requested a review of what would the effects be on a 3%
Yeah.
increase.
Yep.
So
I will, what we did is, Laura put together, an entire spreadsheet on all the wage lines from every budget
No.
to show what the overall 1% swing.
difference would be.
Yeah, and it's roughly, right now, it's roughly about 48,000 for the entire pound.
Okay.
But I will get that spreadsheet. She just was waiting for those last few budgets to come in to complete the spreadsheet. It just got a little too confusing when the department heads were trying to submit two wage sheets back and forth. So she said, just stick with the 4 and we'll deduct the 1% out of all the wage lines.
Yes. So another item that it has kind of caught my attention as I go through and signing off on invoices. I don't know how. I can't figure out how the town itself operates with, for instance, somebody needs paper.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like somebody may order it from Staples, somebody may order it from WB Mason, somebody picks it up at BJ's or something, and I didn't know if there is a system in place where each employee puts in a request for supplies, and then a department head perhaps approves that, passes it up, and one order is made.
Sure. So the way that it works right now is that we do have business accounts at Staples. Most of the paper is being ordered through Staples. The only time that is every once in a while we get sale notices. So they may swap to one of the bigger companies on a sale day, but our regular count is managed through. How you doing? Is managed through Staples.
Yeah.
But what we do is for all the departments within the town hall, these 1, 2, 3 employee departments, all consolidate and order office supplies through the second floor through Stacy. She controls the accounts.
Okay.
She does the ordering for every department in this building. As for the only separate ordering that takes place, were the bigger departments where you have DPW, police and fire. They have their own executive assistants who manage what they need for paper, copier, toner, clips, because they're outside the building. It's not as, well, so we do channel all the smaller departments through the second floor here.
Yeah.
But the bigger departments, their administrative assistants they have their own office supply lines and they run their own separate accounts through there. That one, I think the battery was dead. Let me grab this. That's okay, I don't need it.
We'll just start.
Oh,
This was on here.
oh.
It looks important.
Well, it just needed a few more signatures.
Oh.
This is the appointment. Rock, the vote we took last meeting. I just need a few more member signatures.
Oh, okay.
Does the benefit buyout jump, which is 27-28%, is that related directly to wages? Yeah.
Just a few of the small ones.
Sorry, it was late.
And I just, sorry, you're the
Yeah.
boss, right? No, I,
You did send an email that you were gonna be a little bit late.
okay, all right, I just wanted, I didn't know if everybody got it.
Yeah.
I was, yeah.
I did.
There was something on the off ramp of 93 on 393, and I sat there for about 10 minutes. Okay, thank you, I'm sorry.
No, and just to recap with the board, I know this is the first time you guys are seeing these books. We're gonna go through some of the smaller budgets to make the night productive. If the board is so inclined to vote and approve any of the smaller ones that don't have any significant changes or significant concerns or questions that the board would like to mull over. But some of the bigger budgets like police, fire, DPW, will be planned to have the department heads here next meeting to go over those.
Does anybody else have anything they want to discuss on the administration department's operating budget?
No, I don't.
Everybody comfortable making a vote on this one now, or?
No.
The significant changes in this one, that's all I gone over with them is, well, you see with most of the budgets, it's wages, because with the default, we're 2 years out on wages. So I told all the department heads to focus mainly on being able to cover wages and level fund most of the rest of the budgets.
By 2 years out, do you mean that they have not received any increase at all?
No, they received the increase, but because we went to default, the budget doesn't cover the increase. So by law, we can't take the money away. We just have to find a place to cover it, or we have to lay off positions. So when I say that they got the increase that mid-year, but this year they didn't get any increases. It went to default. But that means that their wages at that time weren't covered fully. So all of the departments had to, unless they had open positions that we didn't fill, which that's how we kept some of the budget together and tight, is because we had open positions that we just didn't fill this year. But the rest of the budgets, like the police department had to come up with $30,000 or $40,000 to cover wages. And the fire department as well, their full-time wages were short. So that's why I told them you know, to trim the budget down as much as we're gonna have an increase just in payroll. So I tried to cut out everything else. No other projects, increases in other areas. Just to concentrate on the bare bones of our employees and not having to either not hire out positions or lay anybody off eventually.
So does that mean that there's pay hike for last year or this year and next year in this budget?
No, there's one just for this year, a 4% merit.
But the numbers that you're
No
looking at,
COLA.
just to be clear, the numbers that you're looking at, it'll show the budget of 24 is actually 23's budget,
Yes.
but 24, there was an increase in cost for wages. 24, there's another increased cost in wages that's being proposed.
That's being proposed, yes, for 25, yeah. So it's 4% merit, no COLA.
That's why the full-time wage numbers look like they're leaping right through the ceiling. The change.
Yeah. But we did, in this particular budget, we did take out $20,000 out of the part-time line. And that was, we absorbed those duties from that position with two of the existing full-time employees.
Which cancels out benefit packages and whatnot for those
Yeah.
employees, because you absorbed it in-house.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So if I did the math of the full-time wages in this one department is 17.5%, is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Over 2 years.
Mhm.
Okay, so it's still 8.5, it's still over
Okay,
8.25%.
Yeah, because there was a
What we're
big
looking
bump in
at-
June of 23.
23, there was a 10% COLA,
So this is.
because we were in 9 positions, is built into
It's
that.
built into
That
that.
was built in, that's the 10% that was in the budget last year that didn't get passed.
Right.
Plus-
So that could put back in again?
Yeah, it has to. We have to cover it.
Why does it have to?
Because we'd have to
Because we
have
have
to,
to fire, if we can't cover our wages, you can't legally take money away from an employee without discipline.
So it's 17.5%, that's.
Yeah, but some of them,
This budget, 24 budget that proposed 25, 17.5%.
on this particular one, yes.
Okay.
It should be more closer to 14%, but
Well, that's why,
I'm not-
did I do the numbers right? So I
Well-
did not have,
Well, you get to,
it's a $61,111 increase in the full-time line, but it gets offset by the part-time line being taken away 20,000. So the total of the increase of the budget is if I did that right, it's 43,876.
no,
Yeah.
44.
Yeah.
How many full-time employees are there for the, so, this is for the administration?
there's 4 full-time employees. And then there you got the wages for the selectmen, for the treasurers, and for the trustees.
So when you take the full-time and part-time wages combined and do the math out, it's just under 12% increase.
That makes more sense. Yeah, that makes more sense.
how much has been spent on part-time wages this year?
0.
Zero.
We retained it because we didn't hire out the position, so we could save the money for.
Okay. You're not gonna, there's no plan to hire any
No,
part-time out next year?
no, we absorbed the duties within this full-time staff that we have.
But you won't see that savings on here because that's the other part of like your insurances and stuff and is.
That comes out
that's
of
Out of
benefit,
different,
out of a different budget.
Yeah, so you'll see the savings will be in that.
There will be
Well,
some.
Yeah, there'll be some in that. But I'm sure a lot of that was used to offset.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So they used to give, years ago, and it's been a long time since I've been on the budget committee, they used to be in the front, like a summary of all the departments, all printed out. It would show the line item. And then it would show bottom line 24, 25, the change up or down. Is there anything like that that we can get?
No, well, they do the justification sheets.
Right, but
He's-
do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, what he's talking about is separate, like spreadsheet,
the math.
the math. Well, what it had is each department bottom line.
Oh, you're talking about like a spreadsheet for the whole
Yes,
entire budget?
that
Yeah.
have the
we're-
bottom line from last year and the bottom line this year, so that you can see
Yes.
where they're at on
And,
it.
and they are creating that, but we haven't finished it yet because we don't have all the numbers.
Because they
We
don't have
we
all-
don't have
they don't
Primex's
have all the
numbers yet.
numbers.
So
We have some empty ones here.
Mhm.
And again, I apologize if these are stupid questions,
No, no.
but it's been a long time since
We
I.
Yeah,
Okay.
no,
It's just, it's not.
yeah, I wasn't understanding what you were looking for.
Well, because then you can see what kind of, at a glance, what kind of
Yes.
increases other departments are requesting.
So that you can see all of it at once, yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
But I mean, we can certainly do it any way you want them. I mean, if you want to wait until the entire budget is done, then we can go through it's just gonna be a long meetings at that point, if we do the entire budget at the same time, or once everything's in. I just don't want to get behind or run out of time for the public hearing. But also, whichever way you guys feel more comfortable doing it. And I understand what you're saying is you want to look at the total bottom line and where it's at. And it is gonna be relative, but I think more so what I was trying to show is that you're gonna see a good 90% of these budgets or more are gonna be just like this one, where there's a spike in full-time wages and there's not anything else. And the idea that we had, I mean, the problem is like I said, if we cut at that point in time, you're gonna have to cut wages, and we can't. Or we just cut out items that are level funded and do without.
Yeah, and I don't know if, again, this is what we used to get. We would get expenses like up to a certain point.
Yes, that should be in the front of your book. Do you have right in your bind, in your,
No, it's not in there.
you guys didn't get
We
it?
didn't get any.
Okay,
Is it in the,
No,
So that's something that,
I got one right here. I can run off some copies for you if you want. Yeah, this is the one the Board of Selectmen had, and I apologize for some reason it didn't get added into your books. We had put them in the front pocket of all the binders, but.
so be able to get through.
Is that the one period September 24th?
if they're flat line?
I have a copy.
I'm fine with however you guys.
Because Conservation Commission, I mean, it's a difference.
There's pennies on the dollar, really, yeah,
Yeah.
it really is. The thing with these is like the wage adjustments, I mean, unless we're willing to give up employees, there's really not a lot we can do about that. Really not a lot we're gonna do about it. Yeah, a couple of the DPW lines I saw dropped, so.
This one here, yeah, this one dropped.
Yeah.
The cemetery.
Cemeteries dropped.
cemetery,
Grounds and maintenance dropped, I saw.
did we get
I
a
think-
summary sheet that showed how the accounts with the line items and then a bottom line?
Yeah. Because are in the book yet. Once they're all in, we'll get
Okay.
the complete summary.
If we vote on anything tonight, is it a temporary vote or is that the vote that we're gonna take for?
That's the vote. If
Oh,
we vote on it, then
Then, yeah, I can't vote on anything tonight. I mean, we just got this. Right? So how can we?
Well,
So
what he's looking at is that we've got
We've got a lot of them that are level funded that
like
didn't go up at all.
DPW,
What if-
like some of.
Yeah, there are a number that are, I think will be quick and easy for us to go through that the select board breezed through on our first night seeing this.
For the whole budget.
But I know years ago, sometimes the department heads would want more and the selectmen would say no. And the department heads would come to the budget committee and they would say, this is why we wanted more, and the budget committee would adjust it up. Believe it or not.
No,
So that's why if we vote, I think,
Well, it,
I mean, it can be like, I'd rather see it be like a temporary vote.
Yeah,
So this.
well, because
No, we
this
can do
is.
that.
The.
I mean, this is the. Right, but he said if we vote, that's the vote.
You can amend
Yeah,
it,
we
you
can
could
amend
amend
it,
it,
yeah.
but there's no sense in voting on it if we're just gonna amend it.
Well, you get a consensus anyway, but again, in the past, this was a long time ago. We would vote on something, say, this is not the final approval, but okay, how does everybody feel about it? And then we would just take a vote and say, okay, well, cool.
But like what we're saying is like the budget, let's use ours for example, the budget committees is level funded from last year. That's a easy one. It didn't go up, it didn't go down, it stayed right where it was.
Did we make that up? Or was it made up beforehand?
Well, then let's,
We
I
just kept it
would
all
say we
the
should
same.
go through the
The level
budget
funded ones are,
that are level
Or the
funded.
ones that went down.
yes.
I mean, that would, I'd be more comfortable with that.
How much have we spent? It's like, how much have we spent? I don't know. How much have some of the departments that are level funded, how much have they spent? Like ours is 3201. What if we only spent 1,000?
Right.
What if we only need 1,500? Why approve 3201?
So
I mean, that's my
the
point.
budget committee has spent $164.66
Okay,
so far in 2024.
yeah, I don't have that. Then why?
No, you'd be getting it.
That's
So,
what he's printing off right
If
now.
we spent that much through,
He's
Three quarters.
he's printing it off now, so.
Okay. so.
Well, and I can tell you too, that with a default budget, everybody's really things that probably they didn't,
Things that would have been done, weren't done
weren't being done.
and were put off.
But, so how much did the budget committee spend? See, my thing is, okay, it's 3201, that's fine.
Right.
Maybe it was 30, and it was 3201, 24, 25. What about 23 and 22? And how much was spent of it? Why raise it if we don't need it? Why raise 3201 if we're only gonna spend $600?
Yep. So I know
Does that make sense?
the biggest line item,
It's gonna be hard because we're coming off a default budget. That's gonna be the tough part.
We came off those a lot back in the 90s and
We're not in the nineties anymore.
narrowed.
They were in a worse
the,
situation.
for instance,
Well, things are pretty tight now.
on the budget committee, the largest
Oh, okay.
expense is the transcriber, and obviously we haven't incurred that expense yet.
Right.
That's gonna be occurring over this
Right.
last.
Some of this expense comes afterwards.
So this should tell us how much was spent. How far back is it? September. It's only the current.
Yeah, this is only year to date.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So do the selectmen have access to a spreadsheet that would show, this is what year, this budget year 24, 22, 23, and 24? Do you have those figures? Can we get those figures? So
Oh, I
can see
think we
what
can get those,
So we can.
without having all of the detail, it's probably easier just to
Talking about,
summarize by
yeah.
department, or you want that full detail?
Something like, yeah, I mean, this doesn't, just make the spreadsheet more, you know what I mean, like. Show fiscal year 22, fiscal year 23, and then 24, and then the proposed. So we can see, and if the budget committee's been 3201 for all those years, and we've averaged spending $800, why raise 3201? Yep. I mean. That's my
Keep them-
feel.
keep them in the pockets.
Hey, right. Why should we raise it and not spend it? Year after year after year. I know when I was on the budget committee years ago, we kept cutting it because we didn't spend it. We didn't need it. We spent what we needed, and then each year would come up. Well, why don't we cut again this year? Because we didn't spend it. And look at our past 2 or 3 or 4 years. Why raise it if we don't need it? Why not stick it? Why make the taxpayer raise money? When we don't need it, we don't spend it. That's
Yeah,
just
the
how-
big thing's gonna be your transcription cost because that's done outside now.
Right.
The budget committee over the years, they tried to go to an automated system that does auto transcribing.
Yep.
And it became a nightmare, because it transcribed gibberish. And somebody else had to go home and read through hundreds of pages of transcription and edit it.
So-
Oh,
So maybe if we get something from somebody that shows actual expenses in 22 and 23 and 24 up to this point. So we can say, okay, this is what we, this is what we spent. And I'm only using the budget committee as an example because that's,
I did the budget committee budget this year because we lost the structure of the budget committee last year, at the end of the year.
Didn't even have one.
Yeah, I know, the chair.
all right, so shut up. So we can continue.
So before we do this, is it a consensus that we want to move on, or do we want to buckle this up for the night and look this book over? And then come back for another meeting. That way,
We're here, I don't know why we just can't look at some more budgets, maybe the smaller ones.
Mhm.
But
yeah,
reserve
I agree.
reserve the right, I would like to reserve the right to come back. Example, the budget committee. I don't know how much we spent the past 15 years, I don't know. So I'd like to see, we have 32, what is it, 3201? And if we've only spent $1,200, then cut it to $1,500 or $1,800. So I'd like to, I would like the right to reserve to go back after we get more figures and say, okay, let's cut this, or let's add to this.
Ryan, do you have a sheet that says like how much was the transcriber was before, the last year, how much was spent on that? Do we have something like that?
I can, well, the paperwork I just gave you will tell you.
It shows what was budgeted, but it doesn't show how much like because I know we're gonna have to have the transcriber back in.
Based on, I had gotten a bunch of this information a few months ago and was in the process of putting together a spreadsheet to kind of do my own analysis. Based on what I have in my notes, it looks like we only spent just under $600 last year, the budget committee total in 23.
And that included a person to do all.
Yeah, the transcriber number
The
is only at
transcription
like
didn't get done until-
$92.
It flipped over into 24. Because these didn't get transcribed until after the first of the year. Most likely.
But we've only spent this year.
So far this year for a
129.
transcriber, we spent another 130, so, so to your point, do we need that much money in this particular line item? Probably not. I mean, I think you could almost safely cut that in half and still be comfortable.
So I guess I'd just like to see the expenses maybe for the past couple of years.
Are these
For each of the
regions
budgets.
based on
Just
when
to call
we?
it, that's all.
Yeah, I only have 23
In
in
here,
my
taking
spreadsheet that I created, so. I don't
For the
have 22 or
transcriber?
20.
We have to-
Oh, for,
We used to have,
Budget committee, we gotta get,
um,
we requested it.
We can make the request. to the administrator.
yeah, so this is for Jennifer Rule, who's the
Yep.
contractor. She does all the minutes for like the zoning board meetings and them, so she's taken back over. So originally, the budget committee at the time who raised the budget to what it's currently at. I just level funded it because I don't
Yeah.
know what they were spending on that, but I will tell you that they raised it because they were paying for that software.
Right.
So there was a licensing fee for that,
Right.
or the transcribing software.
right,
So we just flopped the licensing fee over to what the contracted services would be for transcription. For Jennifer, but to Greg's point, I'm just stressing that I did the budget because there
Well,
wasn't
I'm
anybody here to
saying-
do it, so I level funded it, moved forward, so
So.
probably not. Especially, it all depends on how many meetings we have, I guess, is how efficient we are. Because it's gonna come down to the number of meetings
Yeah.
that we go through. We didn't have a lot of meetings last year at all. So maybe 3, 4.
Three, four, I think.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
it. That's why the money, that's why I was just a little reluctant to take too sharp of a knife to it and cut it because I'm hoping that the, you
Okay.
know,
See, not even, but this doesn't even give us how much was spent
Last year.
last year.
not last year. It's just, this is current year expended.
So can we agree that maybe, and I don't know if we need to vote on this, you guys decide, but can we request of Ryan to get us, excuse me, a sheet like this with maybe 22 and 20, year 22, year 23 in there? So we can,
like that.
yeah, yeah. And maybe,
I can do it. We
With-
can do it through a query on
with the budget?
BMSI. It's not something we create,
like account.
They
number,
create it,
Expenditures.
but I can
maybe
add years to a
The
cover
budget?
sheet like that. I know what he's talking about.
He just
Budget and
wants
expenditure.
22, what was spent, 23, what.
You want expenditure,
compare
you want
it
your
with-
expenditures.
So we have
Yeah.
history and we can say, holy cow, the
What
budget
was
committee.
Those line items
Let's cut it.
that are
For
here,
example,
Yeah.
you know, we're here to go. over
not
the
what was
budget.
budgeted, what was
I
spent.
mean, that's just how I feel. Like, it's voted. That's not, I don't think that's why we're here. Yeah. So do we need to vote to ask Ryan for that, or, I mean?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, all right, cool.
Is that something you can get?
Yeah, I'll have, Laura run a query through BMSI and get that information. I don't know how many years I can get. I think I can do like 3 or 4. I don't know if I can get
That's
like,
fi- yeah.
like 5 or 7. of
No,
them, but,
that's.
you know,
What,
Yeah.
like 20,
There's the Excel layout for.
well, I'd like.
Oh, it's gonna run, she'll run a query off of BMSI. Right. It's not gonna go into a
Budget
spreadsheet.
22.
No, I know. But she can choose her.
Hey,
her-
well,
From columns, yes.
That's just, I'm saying, structured like this is what we're looking.
COVID, that we're gonna have to, look, that's gonna impact the numbers dramatically.
So that 20 and 21. So if we stick with 22 and 23, we should.
But I think most of the COVID funds that came in were
Oh, yeah.
22, 23. That's
22,
gonna
23.
offset some of the numbers that.
Yeah, it will have an effect on some.
It will have effects on it.
To keep that in mind.
If we're going through it, we can.
We'll go through it. I mean, one of the big things that happened in 22, 23, and that's why the COLA increase is we lost 9 people.
Yeah.
So
See, windfall?
COVID money, yep.
COVID money,
Mhm.
every town.
Town did.
Was it
We got
just- was it
two-
just-
2 payments of a little under 300,000.
Go to a place we need to cut.
2 payments of a little under 300,000
Yeah,
total or 600 total.
Well, it was 5 something.
It's still a
No.
fraction of our total budget.
Yeah, it came in over the course of like 2.5 years, 3 years. So,
Well, we'll see that in the spreadsheet, right? I mean.
No.
We'll
It
see
won't, it won't be listed.
no, the
as
COVID money doesn't, you're gonna see the operating. What?
You'll be here.
Yeah.
Well, if I ask a stupid question, you could say, no, Phil, it doesn't. And that's fine.
Well, that money was taken in as unanticipated revenue. So this would be all operating expenses.
The county,
Yes,
or is that in
that's
addition?
in addition. That was about 25,000.
So could you get us? Could you get us revenues too? So we can see that?
Yeah. Well, how many you want years worth of revenues?
Yeah. It's just one column, right?
Yeah.
It's not. So
Yeah, I
that
don't
we
know.
can see
Yeah.
it, it's like FEMA or whatever it'll say.
I'll put Laura to work. She'll love you when I'm done.
Well,
but that's all
I
right.
mean-
So when you do those 3% comparison analysis, don't screw with hers. Keep her at 4.
It's changing, you'll know what.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've done this, so that's all. All right.
All right, let's go on to assessing. And assessing, and you'll see that everything's level funded, but
Except for wages.
Yeah. We had a slight decrease in office supplies. We had a slight decrease in forestry expenses, $250. Oh, and $100 in vehicle fuel.
Was that two full-time positions?
Yes.
And the contracted services for the,
For Whitley Consulting.
That's for what, the attorneys?
No, Whitley
Oh,
Consulting.
Whitley, okay,
Yeah.
all right, sorry. I should know that.
Mm.
So two full-time employees, and it's an increase of 20,000, so each employee is getting an increase in their wages of 10,000, more or less.
If you go to the justification sheet, it'll show you exactly what the increase is.
Oh, okay.
On that first one, wages, full-time wages, assessing wages.
Mhm.
You have the assessor and then you have assessing secretary. But that'll show you exactly what the spread is. Like I said, there was a 10% COLA increase in 23. And then 24 is when we went to default, so there was no increase. And then there's a proposed 4% increase for 25. So there was 24 was skipped when we went to the default. There was no increases given this year. And none of the departments in the town are union, so there's no union contracts involved
I
in it.
thought the highway department was,
No,
so that must have changed after I got out.
I don't know. They've never been since I've been here.
They used to be union, I think.
Mm-mm. No, there was a couple of departments that tried and didn't make it. Cause you know, how there has to be a certain split
Yeah.
to go union and how many employees, but
All right.
yeah. There was probably some talk about it. The police department had some talk about it at one point too, but
couple of times.
We stowed
they-
that
They were
off.
talking about it, but it didn't happen.
So what were the contracted services for?
Whitley Consulting is our contracted services for, they do pickups and reval stuff.
Yeah.
So he does, Rob does regular or periodic pickups, but like when we get ready to do the reval or the, big ones, they come out and they provide those additional services. We don't have quite the manpower for that, and it doesn't, but we don't need, it's not like we need another full-time position. We just need that added support. And Whitley also defends anything that they do, the revals, that includes them defending it at the Bureau of Land and Taxes. So the BTLA, they go and defend their own stuff, so we don't have to incur the cost of,
Attorney's fees. and
yeah,
whatnot,
and stuff like that.
defend
They
it.
defend their own, evaluations and
Yeah.
stuff.
So where is the cost of the portion of the website where all the assessing information is and the tax maps and the?
So, map updating is where that is. So the website is maintained through IT management.
Right.
But
Okay.
like 185 is the map updating.
Yep.
And then GIS was done through a warrant article. That was a specific warrant article for GIS.
I'm talking about that company that you have to sign into to. look at
Avatar?
anything.
Avatar.
Yeah,
Avatar is, that's again, that's if you go into, let me just verify it
Is
real
that in the
quick.
IT budget?
IT management.
TT
That's-
is that.
Yeah, they're all, so IT department has, you'll see, it says software assessing, software town hall, software police. They break down, all the software, is managed through IT management. It was more cleaner, to keep it all under there because he runs it all and does all the updating. If you want, we'll just keep on going through some of these smaller ones and then then you can take your time before the next meeting and go through the book and we'll go back and then I'll have that information too that you're requesting at that. Too. So if you go to audio visual, I flatlined that at $2,000. And that what audio visual is that's how we upkeep our camera systems and stuff, not only for here, but down in the hiking room as well. I know right now that's not usable right now because it's under, they're finishing up the bookshelf is and the construction down there, but
So as of September, nothing has been spent. Is that something that gets spent at the end of the year?
it's already been spent because I just bought this camera. Dollars. So this camera in particularly, what we had is we're working on getting the meeting room as a split view. So when you're watching it live, you get a view of the audience, but you get a view of the board. So with that camera right there, you had a great view of this table, the presenters and the audience. But the problem that some people were having is you couldn't tell who was talking on the board because you were looking at the back of their head. So sometimes if their voice wasn't discernible, then some people said they were having a hard time understanding which board member was actually speaking at a certain time. So we're working on, that's why we did that to improve the viewing at home.
So if you've already spent 1,800 for this year and you want to raise 2,000 for next year, would there be an objection to go ahead and vote to approve that, or did you want to hold off on it? I'm good with that.
I'm okay with voting for this one.
Yeah. I mean, if there are
Yeah.
ones like that that we can do, that,
Mhm.
So just playing the other side of the coin, what if we vote on it? And we okay it, and then we say, when we vote, that we can't go back to it, and the
There's
selectmen.
nothing saying that you can't go back and amend it.
Okay, so if the selectmen come and say, you know what, we get this really cool idea, we need $4,512 next year. So we can go back. And we can revote on it. I thought when I asked it was.
Yeah, it's not restricted.
Your vote's final.
Mm,
That's
no.
why I said, I don't want to vote
No.
for anything.
Yeah, the board at any point in time with a consensus, a majority consensus can reopen or revisit a budget.
So do you have to vote in the majority or the minority to reopen it? Is it like Robert's rules, or we're just gonna do what we want to do? Because
You just talk.
I
Yeah.
don't know the.
No, I don't. I
It's
think
been a
you
long
just,
time.
you just bring it up and
Okay,
Yeah, if there's a majority vote to approve a budget, there needs to be a majority vote to revisit.
Yeah.
To revisit.
yeah, that's fine. I just thought it was final,
Yeah, no,
no, see, that's why I said, I don't know.
it's not final until we
Okay.
go to the board chooses that number and we go to public hearing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Once the public hearing, then
Public
go to
hearing.
public hearing.
Yeah. I just want rules change. I don't want to break any rules. I don't, I just want to make sure that we're doing it right. Okay, that's fine then, yeah. Right, so I'll make a motion, we approve 41.99 for 2,000.
oh, I thought we were only assessing audio visual.
Yeah, that's 41.99.
Oh, right, okay.
Sorry.
I thought you were talking about a number.
Hmm.
I mean, dollar figure. I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
There you go. We'll bypass budget committee right now. Well, I'll get the rest of the numbers as to what the budget committee spent in the past. Before we go over that again. But if you want to go to building department.
Don't have building department.
Don't?
No, because my book is from 3 weeks ago. Well, building department
Oh.
must have come in afterward. Probably in my
In
file.
your file. You want me to grab it for you? I can do it. I got the key.
All right, thank you. Oh, thanks.
Those are your budget.
Thanks. It's all my other good stuff.
So, budget committee, I think you're looking at wages as well. There was a reduction in, benefit buyout went down in this particular one.
Yeah, it's,
Because we went to default, John was still here
oh, okay.
in his retirement. John, because of his longevity here, got a longevity incentive because he was here almost 15 years. So with his retirement changed, training and conferences went up. Again, we were at default at 700. But the cost went up because we have in-service training because the building inspector holds 3 titles and 3 titles all require training and certification. Because you have a health officer, you have the code enforcement officer, and then you have building inspector. And all 3 of them have different associations, different seminar trainings that they have to go to. So that reflects all 3 of the hats.
And those
they
are,
have to wear.
some of those are mandatory to
Yeah.
keep a license in, right?
Yes.
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 Code alone, I think just the classes was almost 700, so 750 this time
It's gone up quite a bit.
Yep.
we did it. So
And I'm looking to see what other changes, if any.
Everything else looks level. funded.
Everything else is level funded. And a lot of that stuff, you'll see is like copy machines, pretty standard expense, postage is pretty standard, office supplies.
This is an increase of $5,551 on this one. And that's all in wages.
That's all in wages. So there are gonna be some budgets that are gonna reflect this, that are gonna respect much smaller changes. And again, that reflects because of a change in personnel. When you see a change in wages that is inconsistent with some of the other budgets, a lot of times it's because we had, so remember in 23, when they did the COLA increase, we were down 9, almost 10 positions.
Correct.
We lost some department heads, some retirements. And then when they changed out, a lot of them had long-term benefits or longevity incentive. And then we went to newer employees, maybe with less experience at a lower rate. Or they had less accumulated benefits, let's put it that way. And that was definitely the case in this one where John had retired and we hired Norma.
Vehicle expense, Ryan, is that, is there one department for vehicles? Is that their own vehicle? Is that?
Yeah, so what we did is there's 2, the town hall has 2, the 2 Tacomas that they've had for quite a long time. I think they're 17s. So there's 2 down here. There's a gray one and a white one. One was assigned to assessing and one was assigned to building. We've since John retired, I swapped them because one had 10,000 miles on it, the other one had 30,000 miles on it. So the gray one used to be John's building, code enforcement vehicle. Now Norma has taken over the white one and we changed the decal on the door to building. Because that one had a lot lower mileage, but that's gonna preserve, the life of those vehicles significantly. Because assessing just doesn't go out on a regular basis. Code and building, with all the building we have going on, she's got inspections every day that she's all around town. So the mileage is significantly different, but we do, the vehicle fuel and expense, we split up between the departments on what they utilize. Like assessing only had, I think, $300 or $250 in fuel. You see buildings got $965 built into fuel. That reflects the mileage that they use. On an average, use more fuel a year.
So we still have a town mechanic?
No,
No.
we have that position. Unfortunately, that was another change out we had and we didn't fill the position.
So
So we're hoping to fill the position next year. Once the budget goes back through.
so vehicle expense, is that just for things, gas, and oil change, or is it like our tires in there? You're $750.
Yeah.
Talking about your tires.
In this In this particular budget, that includes everything, but I already bought tires for that this year, so that won't need tires for another couple years.
So what the 280 was for in this year's budget, the tires,
280?
280.80, yeah. Up to September.
No, I don't think that reflected the tires. I think
I mean, this is September's expenses.
yeah.
Could be a month old. Okay.
I don't know if
I know
I'll have to look
tires
back. I
expensive.
might have done it at the end of last year, not this year. But I know when John left and we swapped out, the tires were bald on it and the battery was dead, so.
Okay.
Those were the two big expenses for that truck, was tires and a battery. I can look back at the invoices to find out when that was done.
So it was probably done the end of last year.
That might have
Because
been.
that's
it.
when John
Yeah.
left.
So where do the vehicles get their stuff done now?
Right now, well, it's a variety of different places,
Right.
but local, for right now, just basic oil changes and stuff. That we do have assistant mechanics down there doing regular maintenance. There was an assistant position that's still occupied down there, who was the mechanics, man, they're doing basic oil changes
right.
and that. But I do know like they're going out to, they're hiring out for the fire trucks and apparatus that's more specialized. They're going out to, I don't know exactly who they're using right now, but it's a certified emergency apparatus, mechanical place. Usually it's a lot of the manufacturers or the dealers. And then like the police cars and stuff, when they're rotating through for inspection stickers, they're usually going up here to Wayne's or something.
I was just curious,
Mhm.
because that's not a lot of money per vehicle expense for two vehicles. So is it done in-house? Do we farm it out? So that's.
Oh, so that 750 though is split between the departments. So there's vehicle expense in other departments too.
Right,
So
but just-
IT shares
Right,
this
but for
vehicle
two
too.
Vehicles, that's not a lot of money.
No, but
That's why I was asking.
yeah, no, yeah.
But is that, now that like you just said, like IT covers some of this expense
Mhm.
and then you'll see this line again for,
Assessing's got it for 250.
right, so some of them share the vehicle.
Yeah, and so each of them pay a little bit.
So in this department, so multiple departments share these two vehicles?
These two vehicles are shared by anybody at town hall. Because these two are the only administration vehicles,
So
meaning nobody from, like DPW is not gonna take one of those trucks. Police department's not gonna, fire's not going to, but if IT needs to go somewhere. Cause the other thing is we try to eliminate mileage. By having employees who do go to these conferences and trainings, take the truck or a town vehicle. So that we don't have to pay mileage out for personal vehicles.
That's more
So-
expensive.
It is, I guess it depends on, I mean, if we didn't have the vehicle, it would be less expensive, but because the vehicle's sitting there, it's less expensive for us.
No, it's in the assessing department. Okay, so I'll just have to look through. That's fine. I just wanted.
Yeah. No, it's a small amount for the two trucks because they just don't get this kind of use that you see out of emergency
highway
services
truck
or a
or-
highway truck or
Yeah.
things like that because they're only going out periodically.
But if they sit, that's not always good.
No, and that's why the tires and the batteries went on that other one was.
That's
that-
why I asked
they
you,
were sitting, yeah.
750, that
Mhm.
doesn't seem like enough money for two vehicles. But if there's multiple departments, I have to look through it, which is fine. I
Mhm.
just have to look through and find out which other departments use those vehicles and then add that all up. That's, yeah, I mean, that's fine. I
Mhm.
just. All right. Just to make sure that there's enough there.
Yeah. Oh, no, I
Like I
understand what
said-
you're saying. Yeah.
My kid sells tires and I know how much they are,
Yeah.
especially on a truck.
I'm sure we buy ours through municipal though,
We do
which is a
municipal bid, yeah.
significant,
Yeah, it's significant.
significant.
difference.
So. Okay, I see, and they've got the IT, the vehicle expense and the vehicle fuel
Yeah.
separate, and it's in IT's budget also for 250.
Yeah, I think he's.
That way not one department's paying for the fuel for the other one or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's 1250, I think, for just a quick look, it's 1250 for all.
Right now, yeah, I think
And
it's what I'm.
It's in a,
Oh, the other thing is we do have a capital reserve too for an emergency. Because the capital reserve, we have a vehicle capital reserve for these two specific trucks. That it was established several years ago. I think it has a total, each one has around $7,000.
What's an emergency? What constitutes an emergency?
Well, the way the wording of the established it was either the replacement or repair of the vehicle. So it doesn't constitute an emergency, but
leaves
what I'm
it pretty
saying is
broad.
if something bigger broke that we didn't foresee,
Tiny
that we
little-
could tap into the capital reserve if we had to.
All right, thanks. Yep.
I'll make a motion on this, building department operating budget 4192 to approve it as presented.
Second. All those in favor?
4190.
Oh, sorry.
4192.
For 123,001 total.
I'm sorry. I vote up.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Conservation, if you want to go to that one. So, on conservation, you'll see there's a slight increase in part-time wages. That's for the, conservation, secretary who handles their meetings and their day-to-day. What you'll notice about conservation, if you look, the department head, the conservation chair, had originally requested 34,647. And the board and myself, we reduced it to back down to 23,247. And the reason for that was they had two big projects that they were looking to do that they weren't able to on the default. But I came up with the money through some other surplus in the budget to pay for it this year. Well, there's a reason.
Thing.
Yeah,
She's lying.
so, but they wanted to do some, they had to do some boundary surveying on some land that they had. And then the other project was, some invasive cutting. They had some tree islands growing up in some of the conservation, areas. And that, had invasive growth that was spreading out into the fields. So they wanted to have those cut back. I think they're doing it with one of those, mulching excavators with the head on the end. So so they hadn't spent all their money this year, so I utilized money that they had left in their budget to, and I'm trying to do that with all the departments, is that if they have a real pressing project, that's not too bad, we're trying to fund what we can, obviously, out of this year instead of carrying it in the new budget proposal.
So this here's an actual increase of $302.
Mhm.
So from the department request to the selectmen approve or whatever,
Mhm.
that's okay with the Conservation Commission?
Yes, they
Okay,
were in
that's
favor
fine.
of, because we
Okay.
found another way to fund it. I
Okay,
just
so-
didn't cut it out.
I always ask that question because
Yeah.
if they don't, then I want to talk to them. See what their
Yeah.
justification, that's all. I mean, you should remember that.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
No, I did it behind their back. They don't know yet. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm-
No, Gina and I had a meeting and that's where we came up with the money, allocated some money from this year.
I'll make a motion 23,247 for account 4612.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We go to cemetery department? You'll love this one.
That's a decrease of $3,323. We'll take that.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve cemetery budget of $6,183.
Second.
Can you just give us a brief overview on why that? I see numbers, but I don't know.
Yeah, so,
A general expense.
yeah, general expense went down. I do know what they're doing is with the new DPW umbrella, they all fall under the umbrella. There's no, we don't have a designated cemetery sexton anymore. We have DPW employees that bounce back and forth between the maintenance. The sexton duties, for burials and stuff is handled by the DPW director. So a lot of that has been merged. And some of the reduction here too is we're making better use of the cemetery, you gotta help me out with that. What's it called? The maintenance, it's the truss.
The trust fund. The,
Yeah, but they call it, it's the,
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
In perpetuity,
what's that?
in perpetuity, something like that, where
It's the,
People
we
get
have a
money.
list of all the families and all the trusts that they come in, and all of them can be used to allocate for the general maintenance and upkeep
Right.
of the cemetery. That's what it's for. For general, so we have pages of them over the years, and it's this, oh, why can't I think of what it is? So it's not like a typical capital reserve or things like that. The department head can allocate money from the perpetual care. Perpetual care.
Perpetual
That's
care,
what it's
yeah.
called. I knew it was there. Yeah, so it's called
Wanna
the
write that down?
Perpetual Care Fund. And we do share more expenses like, for overall like when we had to buy a new zero turn for the mowing of all of them and things like that. We don't utilize the money for one specific gravesite or one specific monument. It's more for the overall general care of the entire
The entire.
facility.
is that how it was set up originally?
Yes.
That,
But perpetual care. And like I said, they're all different, like name trusts, like this John Smith Family Trust and they all go into a perpetual care because they're all, varying amounts and none of them are real big. But some of them are pretty decent.
Did we already make a motion? I can't-
Yeah, there's a motion on the table.
We were having discussion.
yeah, I just asked.
So I don't think we have a second.
No, I seconded it. It was-
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Why is electricity down so much? My electricity-
So, yeah, what happened is so we're on default still. And when we, so when we went to the 23, which is the budget we were working off of, that was the year that all the utility companies came out with this projected 27% increase in the co-op. And we all budgeted for it. You're gonna see this with some of the bigger departments, you're gonna see, and it didn't happen to that extent. So now all those budgets are coming back down now because we've seen
Okay.
that level out. But you're gonna see big swings in that when you start looking at town hall and buildings and maintenance. Because there's like $10,000 swings in electricity.
That.
and I
that's true.
love seeing building fuel go down.
And that's because we had some new furnaces put in too with propane. We got rid of a lot of the oil fired.
And did you guys lock in somewhere for price for next year?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's.
And the price went down.
Okay.
So we got a better propane price and oil, but we're mainly operating off of propane now.
That's not what my question is. Sorry.
All right, anybody else? All right, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Grounds and maintenance, you might like this one too. So this one's a reduction as well. But I will tell you that again, looking at this, take into consideration that with all the DPW departments now, all the wages are wrapped into one department, into the DPW highway, department works. All the employees work under that umbrella, so all the wages are in there. So you're not seeing a swing in wages in the
Right.
budget.
In
either.
this, you're gonna see it in one big one when you.
Right, but that's not that bad with that
Right.
one because they
There's so many.
didn't have any, yeah.
Right, and then, yeah.
So for grounds and maintenance, where you're seeing a lot of the savings is one, you'll see the electricity bills, a lot of them, some of them are going down. Building fuels for a lot of them are decreasing as well.
This,
Which one are you talking about?
your building fuel went up.
In which building though? Because
Well,
there's a
there
bunch of.
was- You went 700 to 11,000.
And what's AVAS?
Yeah, it's the ambulance building, but it's actually Parks and Rec.
Oh,
It used to be the All Volunteer Ambulance Service. That's what AVAS stands for. You know what? So like the town hall electricity dropped $3,000. Town hall building fuel, I think the reflection in that is, between 22 and 24 is when the brand new, when the new central air system went in. So, before we had that old broken steam boiler. So they were operating off of the mini splits.
Which number is it?
So our electricity went up, but our building fuel went down because the mini splits had quite a draw.
Yeah,
on the
with the
electric.
town, 4194, Ryan, 304, town hall fuel says it went from 4,700 to 11,000.
Mhm.
I think that's what she was talking.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about though, right? Because they were operating off the mini splits.
Oh, okay, so
23,
I got you.
And then the mini splits would use a lot more electricity and
I
not
gotcha.
building fuel because they're the condensers with the heat pumps.
Yeah.
Now we have 4 air handlers and 3 wall mounted high efficiency boilers
So basically the electric went
down,
down 7 and the fuel went up 7.
basically. Yeah. I don't know if it's completely even, but it's pretty close. Pretty close to a swap. Yes.
Yeah, it's as close as I think you can.
Yeah, it is pretty close. But a wash.
Yeah,
It's kind of a wash, really.
Yeah.
came down about $650.
Okay, Ryan, what is the increase for the Railroad Square Park?
Which number is that?
759.
759. Let me go to the justification sheet, just to make sure.
For access.
Miscellaneous bench, table and trash receptacle repairs, irrigation repairs.
Likely than not, it's the constructing of those new stairs for the water access. I mean, if you've been. I mean, I don't.
Kind of
Pest-
broad
pest services.
justification.
Pest services geese, is that to try to not inhibit, that's not the right word, but from landing and
Yeah,
doing their thing?
that's when we try to put the little coyotes and the what, cranes up with the little decoys and people keep stealing them. So, but then it gets a little crazy when we get overrun with goose poop. So we got a lot of complaints on that this year. So we've been trying to be a little bit more proactive. We can't put staff out there on a daily basis to clean it up. So we're doing what we can to decoy it. The other thing is those steps, and you are exactly right, that those construction of the new steps or water access, those got shut down because they're a hazard. What those are is the few steps, I don't know if you've seen them, there were some stone steps where they inserted metal railing on it, but the railing didn't have any slats. It loosened up and fell down, but the stones were just placed as the weather and everything else shifted, the stones let go and now they're spread apart. People were falling. So we had to tape them off and barricade them. So during the CES presentation and stuff, that was one of the things that we received a lot of complaints that people couldn't access the water there. So. But I think the plan is to construct some PT steps or something like that.
Make
Not
something
some,
that's
not some
gonna last
stones,
those-
yeah.
Any more questions for the DPW grounds and maintenance budget? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion if somebody is willing to make it.
I will make a motion that we approve the DPW grounds and maintenance budget 4194. $147,600
Second.
$5.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
I
We're gonna skip public. works,
We'll
right?
skip,
That
we'll
one.
skip Public Works and, go on. So Seth's gonna be here for the other stuff like solid waste and stuff. I'll have him come in for
Yeah.
that day to do all those. So we'll just skip over, solid waste as well.
I'm just, Department of Public Works, I know we're skipping over, it, but I see that's quite an increase.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So mind you,
Wages.
all of the wages for the entire DPW department, so grounds maintenance, cemetery, solid waste, all of those wages are put into this budget.
All right.
That's why, everything's consolidated into that one. Cause I think if you look at solid waste too, I think there's a reduction there as well in that budget.
Right. There's nothing in solid waste.
No, it's not, it hasn't been approved yet by the board.
Okay. Emergency management?
Oh, they haven't yet. We'll go to emergency management. I do have solid waste in mind, but that's.
Right, because yeah.
But
Yeah,
you're,
you guys must have tabled it or something. 'cause
they
it's
did,
not
yeah.
here.
They tabled it because of, transportation.
Ah,
Truck, yep. So we go to emergency management.
level funded,
Yep, a level funded this.
no changes.
No, really all it is, so the $10,000 is really, it's not a planned. We've been keeping $10,000 in there. That's for any sort of response, preparation and response. So preparation meaning any replacement of barricades, cots, shelter equipment that, we need to from the trailer. And then response obviously is the deployment of those in the event of.
More or
a
less, if we have
storm,
an emergency or a bad
Yeah,
storm or
right.
something and we need to house people, we got funds to do that.
So, we do, I mean, obviously $10,000 is a small claim when you get into floods and things like that, but this is more the immediate on hand. Get the barricades out, get that long-term repairs, even, initial responses. All gets allocated out of emergency or storm disaster, funding lines, and then we reimburse through FEMA. So that's like with the big floods that we had and stuff, we're still pulling money in right now. We're almost up to $700,000 from FEMA. So actually this year will go to help offset the $1.4 million in road reconstruction. So we're gonna throw $700,000 back at that from FEMA.
So we'll only do 700 from taxation and the rest will come.
Yep.
That's,
So that will help. And the board is
that.
also considering another 500,000 to 700,000 out of the fund balance to help offset this year as well, because we haven't done it in the last few years in the past. But our fund balance is up to 4.6 million already, which we're close to that cap.
yeah, you're almost
The DRS.
17% or something.
Yeah, we were at 11 last
Mine
year.
was close
So,
up, yeah.
yeah, we're at close to 14% now, almost.
Yeah.
17, so.
Close. So that's giving it back to the taxpayer as well.
Right.
Send some of it
Yeah,
back to the taxpayer.
yeah. So that's exactly what the intention is this year. We
Yeah.
haven't finalized numbers, but I know just by individual conversations with the board and stuff, they seem to be in favor. We just haven't nailed down a number yet. I think we want to see where we're at the end of the budget to know exactly how much to offset at that point. I did also talk to legal too about the fact that we're not going to do it. There's different ways that you can do it to apply it, but I want to do it in the most
So can-
transparent way to the public, because you can pay down the tax rate quietly,
Right, nobody knows.
and the
anything.
tax rate comes in and nobody knows that it was offset. Or you can put it into the operating, the warrant
Warrant
article
articles.
for the operating budget to offset by
Mm.
$600,000 from the fund balance. So that way it's out, the public sees it when they go to the voting.
That's how they used to do it years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
That's exactly how they did it.
Yeah, I've seen it done in the past sometimes where they just buy down the tax rate. When the tax rate comes in, they have the board has the opportunity when DRA presents the preliminary tax rate to buy it down. But if you do it that way, like I said, you can broadcast it, but there's only so many people watching from.
Yeah,
one of
not
the-
everybody sees it
Yeah, a lot more people see it through the warrant.
through the
So,
vote.
Right.
When you're reading in the booth and it says to be offset by
yes.
such and such.
Mhm.
So, any more questions on the emergency management? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion that we vote to approve the emergency management budget 4290 for $11,003.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Fire department, we're gonna skip? I'm
Yes.
assuming.
Yep. Ambulances.
Gilman
Oh, you don't
Museum?
have him, do you have him?
No, I don't even have the ambulance.
Yeah,
thing.
that's fine.
Gilman Museum?
Yep, Gillen Museum. And that's
That's also level funded.
that's level funded. And that's really basically the bare bones of what's needed. There's a little bit of money in there for, grounds and maintenance stuff and building expense, 500 apiece. That, basically wouldn't be earmarked for anything in particular until we got into the year as to what needed upkeep and what needed maintenance. But everything else is just, basic maintenance costs, electricity, heating, oil, and, insurances.
How do they pay their electricity? Because they haven't paid any this year, it says, or haven't. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong line.
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
I keep signing off on electric bill.
1,300 to date.
right. So there's almost 62%. It's almost 62% remaining in the end of September, is that right?
There's about 19% for electricity or the overall budget.
Yeah,
Yeah, the overall budget is 62%. And we're through in September, you're through, first 3 quarters.
So they should be about 40%. With 4 months left.
October, November, December. So there's 3 months left.
Well, this only goes to September 1st. It's not through September. If it says September on the front,
Yeah.
it's only
That's
September.
period September.
Yeah, so that means it was printed first week of September, so it only goes through September 1.
Property insurance, is that paid at?
It's sprayed at
Once a
the
year?
end of the year with Primex, but the other thing
It's gonna have-
the other thing that's gonna get hit at the end of the year is contracted service, because that's the alarm monitoring system. Because that's monitored by the same alarm company that does the town hall and stuff too, so we'll get a bill for their annual, well, they have an annual service plus their contracted fee for monitoring.
So they don't bill you monthly or quarterly or anything?
No.
Must be nice to be rich. Okay.
It's not that big of a bill though. I mean, there's only $1,100 in there, so,
Give it a lot of $1,100 customers out of.
yeah. Well,
Okay.
town hall, they bill us more frequently. It's a little more
Right.
expensive.
All right, I will. If there's no more questions, I'll entertain a motion for the Gilman Museum budget.
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
So,
There is no household hazardous waste. in
yeah,
there.
no, that's got benefits in it, so we had.
Insurance.
Insurance for short-term.
You'll
Questions
make a
about
motion.
interest,
I'll make a motion.
short-term?
Make a motion that we approve this, short interest short term.
The amount of $1?
Can we cut that to 50 cents?
Second.
When was, I just have a question.
Yep.
When was the last time we had to use this?
I don't even, not since I've been up here in this position, but I've been told, I've asked about it because I didn't really know what it was to begin with. But basically it's a tax anticipation note. But we haven't had to take any of these kind of loans. It's more of a catastrophic thing. So the fact that we haven't had to use it's a good thing, but I've been told I have to keep $1 in it to keep it open.
Just in case,
Yep.
yeah.
But wouldn't the catastrophic thing be in the selectmen's, in the what, 14 or 17% that they have as a,
Yeah, but they still have to, in order to expend that money, they still have to get permission through DRA. They can't do it, even in a declared emergency.
All right, it's a place for you to take it out of.
Right, DRA also in case, a lot of towns, I mean, we're in a good shape because we have that side of cushion that we can go to. Chances are the town of Alton wouldn't take a loan. We'd go into our reserve, but
and I'm just asking.
yeah, DRA requires this
Okay.
more as a catch because not every town, a lot of towns don't have that kind of money. And if they got hit with $1 million storm or a tornado or, a microburst, they may have to pull a loan to restore their
To restore.
infrastructure.
This has to be there for it to come out of.
Mhm.
motion that we approve
I think,
4723?
did we have a motion and a second already, I think?
Yep, we
Yeah, I think we already.
Oh, but yeah, I just,
Yeah, all those in favor?
Fall asleep.
But just in case.
Now we got a backup. Yeah. It was close last year was close.
it was close. We spent a lot of money last year.
When that hill came down.
Down. Was huge.
Yes, it was.
Well, if we're lucky that wasn't on the back of the town. I mean, it was bad enough that the water line was,
Yeah.
but if that state portion of the road was on our,
That would have been hard
Yeah.
pill to swallow.
that would have been hard.
Yeah. Are we doing IT? That now, or- You want to skip over IT?
That's fine. We can skip over that. And
Library.
Go to legal.
Oh, sorry. Legal.
So, legal, everything was level funded except for the police prosecutor. That is a contracted, position, and that increase is his, capped 2% COLA increase.
Okay.
It's based on CPI, with a cap of 2%. CPI was 3.7, I think it was. So he was capped at 2%.
This is contractual anyway. He
Right.
gets that.
Right.
All right.
So he gets that no matter what?
Yes.
Cause as of September, there was 94%. All right,
In that line,
yeah,
185,
4153?
185?
4153.
Oh, no, I'm looking at, what, no, you said contracted, I'm sorry, I was looking at the contracted one.
Oh, no, I'm talking about police prosecutor. I'm sorry.
They have the police prosecutor had the contract.
Yeah, he's contracted position. Contracted services for us at town hall is the consortium, it's the 10 or 11 communities that belong to the cable TV
Consortium,
consortium.
yeah.
That, and we have a contracted lawyer that represents all
Handle
of
that.
us, and we
And
pay.
it's separate from our town attorney that handles our town.
Right, it's a specialty attorney from DTC, DTC.
DTC, I believe, yeah.
So we've expended $40,000 to date. It's at the very bottom of the page, or at least on my page.
Yeah, I'm good, thank you, sorry.
And we've been running pretty consistent with the attorney's retainer. That's not a fixed amount. It's based on an hourly usage. Depending on, and that's all departments within, that have boards. So the planning board, the planner will reach out for planning board code. Usually for zoning, or it's me reaching out to them, or I'm reaching out on behalf of the Board of Selectmen and questions they have. So each month it's a little different, but we are averaging right around that 16 to 18, where I think you'll see on the expenses, we're running pretty consistent. The only thing that's up and down, obviously, is attorney litigation fees. It all depends on whether the case is settled, we
Or
have
goes to
them.
court or-
At any given
Yeah.
point, we got 2
Or
or
if
3
there even
lawsuits.
is a
We just
case
don't know
for
where
that
they are.
matter.
What's that?
You could go a whole year without a case.
Yeah. That's unlikely.
Yeah, that happens, yeah.
Wishful thinking.
Yeah, but I mean, that also counts BTLA cases, the Bureau of Land and Tax. So I mean, every time, you always get abatements or requests for abatements and challenges on evaluations and stuff. But we always have 1, 2, or 3 lingering things that I'm trying to work out one way or another. We haven't gone to court, knock on wood, we haven't gone to court yet. We've been working them out.
It's always cheaper to settle.
Yeah. Well, we had 6 pending when I took over. I've been working, it took me 2 years to work on a few of them.
Any more questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the legal budget for $145,418.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Brian, I just have one thing.
Sure.
On the actual and budget expenses sheet here,
Mm-hmm.
is there any way to put a comma in those numbers?
I don't know. I can ask Laura.
Because what screwed me up.
I don't know.
I don't think it can be
I
done.
don't know.
If you look at legal police prosecutor, that 5 looks like $1.
Oh, is it?
And so I was looking for the comma.
I'll ask her. I don't know.
Oh, okay, 4,000.
You might be able to do, we might be able to do it because on the sheets, they have commas in them.
Right.
Look on the budgeting sheet, they have commas. So we might be able to do
It's a
it.
stupid thing, but it's not really bright in here.
You want me to turn the light up? It's on a dimmer. I can turn it up.
No,
You sure?
Yeah.
It'll give you a suntan.
Yeah, those things blind you.
I mean. The commas. So you can see, right? I mean.
I do too.
It's an accounting.
I get
But-
my monthly reports.
But leaving out the comma was a
No
strategy.
commas.
Then you might not, it might not look as
Not
big.
sure where. It's choose your own adventure. with
That's right.
comma goes.
That's right.
It's stupid, but
Mm.
It's just. 5 looks like $1 sign.
We can,
We go
skip over the library.
Skip it.
I mean, we can do it if you want.
It's,
It's mostly,
It's up in wages and
they got a small increase in bookkeeping services, and that was what that was an increase over the last 2 years. So 703 was the default amount. Their bookkeeping services, obviously increased year by year, but by a percentage.
It looks like they added $8,000 for contracted services.
Yes, and what that is what they added in there was their contract. So the last few years, they have a trust fund for the trustees of the trust fund for the library. And they were absorbing their IT costs. So the library is one of the departments that pays separate contracted fee for their IT. And the reason for it is it's the only department that's not part of our network. They have their own standalone network. They have their own domain for emails. It's a MetroCast. And they choose to remain separate. And I think really what it came down to is the library's always operated separately because they only have their own board of trustees. And to be honest with you, the whole collaboration with the budget is more of a formality because they have.
they don't really have
They
to.
don't, their trustees have already approved this budget.
Right.
And it will go forward because of the trustees, because they have their own trustees. But because we're all on the same team, they all come together.
But I don't think we can even cut these. I mean, you
But-
can, but it doesn't matter, right?
But it doesn't matter, but you can discuss it and, for the most part, if there's a concern, I mean, I'd bring it to
Bring
the
it to-
trustees and I talked to the trustees about it, but if you see, Holly did a great job. There's a cover page that actually talks about the differences. Before you get into the justification
Yeah.
pages. And that actually gives you an overview that she put together. That tells you why things increased or why things decreased, because you'll see she cut a few $1,000s out of books and AV materials. And that's really not reducing services. They're gonna augment some money in that area, from the trust funds. But that's the 79 in contracted services all related to IT services. Actually, I take that back. It's not just IT. Let me go to,
looking at it and it includes $1,500 for the elevator service.
oh, yes, because they have that.
And $30 for servicing their heating and cooling system
Mhm.
and
And they just put a brand new heating and cooling system in, so they need to, it's a new air handling system, central air system. So it's gonna have quarterly, filter changes, all that other stuff that they need to keep up with.
They get any more full-time people?
No, there's
I mean,
no,
So their wages are up 12.6% for full-time. Just with the numbers,
Mhm.
and I can't quite understand.
You don't quite understand the 12%. That's actually low, because if you took basic wage increases it should be 14%. Because what we're going from 23's default, at the end of 23, the board granted a 10% COLA. So that 10% was covered, but it wasn't in the default budget. So the 10% from that increase never got covered in 23. And then 24, we went to default. And then the 4% is the request for this year. They haven't received that. That would be the merit for this year.
You look at the wages pound, it says 4%+4%.
Right.
But and if you do the math, it's 4%, but this is 12.6.
Because when they present their budget, they have to present it based off the current rate. So their current rate of pay was the 10% COLA increase because that was granted, even though it wasn't in the budget. You
that
get what I'm
doesn't-
saying? So the employees for the last year have got that 10%,
So,
but we've had to fund it out of other areas in the budget.
so the selectmen found the money.
In the
Pay rate, right?
Like we just said.
That year, we were down 9 positions the year before.
Voted in March. With the call budget.
Yes.
From January to March, they get the increase in pay. Right?
They got the increase in pay mid-year, the following year, the year, of course. Mhm.
Yeah, that's.
So January of
Wait,
this year,
because we can.
everybody
reduce
gets it.
the bar.
No, we're going back past year. There was been no increases in 24.
I don't.
So
know
the
if-
increase was in was mid-year
something in there.
23.
Ryan,
So did they do that differently than they used to do the pay?
Yeah, they did it because of after COVID, because we had a record low of employees. We didn't have plow drivers going into the winter. When we were down 4 cops.
I mean, I don't want
And
to
2
get bogged down
department
with
heads.
everybody. If
Yeah.
everybody understands it, then I can.
So what happens is went to the board, we were struggling because like everybody else, we couldn't hire and we couldn't retain. And we had a record low of not being able to provide services, not to be able to,
well, and
Man,
what was happening like with your highway and the police department is other towns were paying a lot more, so they were poaching all our
Yeah.
employees were getting we can get $5 more an hour to go next door, and you had to do something to get.
yeah, so a lot of towns did unprecedented COLA or adjustments, wage adjustments or reclassifications. Guilford did it.
Yeah.
Even the county did it, because that's why our county taxes went up this last go around pretty good, because they did a wage hike across the board.
A lot of
So-
private companies had to do it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody felt it. But
Oh,
we did it for retention more than anything, because we were losing.
Right.
Yep.
And we were successful. It wasn't for naught because
We
we're
got-
completely at full staff and
Absolutely.
we filled right back up. But what ended up happening is obviously we didn't anticipate going to a default in 24. So just to get back, so hopefully you understand what I'm saying. So mid-year 23, they did a 10% COLA increase across the board.
That was in the budget?
That
money was in the budget.
That money was found in the budget because what we did is we took the surplus from the 9 spots.
Correct.
Because not only were we down 9 wages, we were also down all the health insurance and health insurance is 30,000 a year.
So mid-23, you couldn't keep help, whatever.
Right.
So you took 10% and you gave everybody a 10% hike. Let's call it June 1st, just halfway,
Sure.
okay?
Right. And that's about right.
So that
About
was-
July. I think.
July.
Yeah.
So then the 24 budget came out. And it had those increase in pay in there,
Yes.
plus more. Right, for 20.
No,
Wait a minute, so they got the 10% in July
Mhm.
23. So that was included in the base figure for the 24 budget, which was voted on in March.
Mhm.
Plus, was there a cost of living on top
No.
of that?
No.
There was
So there was
no
nothing.
additional, no.
So how, okay, so explain,
Because when we went to default, we went
Right.
back to pre-10%. So
Oh,
because
the
we went.
default was pre-10%?
Right, because
Yeah.
the money, if the money is not voted in the operating budget and it is done pre-year, the March, it does not automatically go into the default. So those wages had to be covered, like the year before, we covered them from the open positions, Now, because we went back to default in 24, we had to cover the 10%. But that's why when you see like the justification sheet that Greg is mentioning, you see the 10% is included in the current rate because we have to pay it. So we're paying that currently, but that 10% is not included in the default.
That's
So,
pre-default.
That's pre-default. So, so with the 25 proposal, we have to include the 10% that we missed, that we lost last year with the default, plus the requested merit increase for 25. So altogether, it's 14%.
But I'm still missing something,
Okay.
because the 24 budget, which was made up after the people got the 10% pay hike, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, this is confusing, Greg.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just you, believe me. The numbers that you're seeing under the 24 budget is actually what the wages were in 23.
Right. And so
So
what
we-
happened was,
So was it budgeted 23 or actual? And what I'm looking at, and again, I'm
Okay.
not, is full-time wages is one person in the library. It shows 24 budget, 60,041. That includes the 10,000, correct?
No,
No,
So that,
the 10%, not 10,000. Oh, sorry, yeah.
then why,
The
why,
10% came after the 23 budget was already put in.
right, but this is the 24 budget.
Right, but
but which is the exact same as the 23
which is
budget.
exactly the point.
So, okay, I want to see the 23 sheet
Actuals.
like this here. 22, 23, because I'm missing something, because if they get the raise July 1st of 23, right?
Mm-hmm.
When the 20 fiscal year, or the calendar year 24 budget was made, it was made after July 1st when they got the 10%.
Right, but we went to default. And the 10%, because it was given mid-year, did not make the default amount.
Okay.
So it would have been reflected in the budget presented and voted on in March, but it failed. So
It went back
it
to,
falls back.
it went back to pre-10%.
Okay.
So then your question is, how the hell did we cover that 10% wage increase across the board for
No.
half of 23 and all of 24?
I guess my question is, in the other departments, it shows on the justification sheet, it'll say current pay, proposed pay, 4% merit.
Current pay,
the current pay.
not budget, but the current
Okay.
pay,
Current,
which reflects the
Which-
10%
Yeah,
increase.
it does reflect the 10%. If it says current pay, it
Okay.
reflects the 10%.
then why, so the library did it different. Okay,
They did
library
it all
comes up,
different, yes.
Which,
Did she write it up differently? Is that?
well, it comes out to 12.6 and not the 4%. So that's why I'm asking. It's just confusing.
So what she
Based on-
did is, in her justification sheet,
How much of that is that person getting paid this year? In
So
24?
total paid, so the library director, total paid 2024, 66,045, which represents the 10% increase over the 23 budget,
Budget.
24 default budget.
Okay, because it shows here 60.
Yeah, funding request.
Because
is
that's the
6107.
budgeted
Yeah.
amount.
Okay, I think it's, like, but it's. The other departments, it just shows 4%. You know, it'll say
See what she did.
current pay or whatever.
Yeah.
This one doesn't, it's just.
Correct.
So if you go to
Instead of-
the justification page,
Yeah. look at
So that's.
like, under library director, she does do a fairly decent job of explaining the process.
yeah, because she's got the other one, current rates of pay reflecting 10% COLA as recommended by the selectmen August 2023. And then it talks about the current rate of pay and then the,
Okay,
Yeah, she's got it in here completely different than the rest of the.
yeah, it shows total paid
Yeah.
24, but it
Yeah,
hasn't
it
been
does.
paid.
Mhm.
If it's still October, so. and-
Right, yeah.
Okay.
It will be. So her current salary is 66,045, even though
on this thing, it says 60.
Budget.
Because
It-
that's
it
the,
took
that's
me
the
a while to
default.
get my head wrapped around this.
So is there a way that
Mhm.
we get the default budget and the proposed budget for 24? Just in a column. So it'll say proposed 24 budget and then the default 24 budget. So we can see, so I can see anyway, how everything worked out, because I understand it shows 60
You want the
here.
propose and then you want the default, basically, what it would be.
Column, that's all.
Yeah, so the proposed budget that was rejected, okay.
And then the default.
Well, so we can see, or I can see anyway, you guys have it, but I wasn't here, so that $10,000 thing, that's
10%. It's never happened since I've been. That was a unique situation. That was very unique, and I don't think you'd see it happen again unless we were in dire straits.
It can be tough anyway. For
Yes.
the whole.
Right.
And I would have got it, but the way it was done here is like,
This is, her.
It's confusing.
completely different.
It's confusing.
yeah,
I sat as a, and I couldn't make.
Heads and tails.
Does, her sheets, the way she breaks it up for the trustees, because she's presenting to the trustees, she does it a little different.
Yeah.
But that's all right. Do you want to, sure,
This new line that they created for the 79.
yes.
Down here in her explanation of her. He says, as of 8/7/2024, library funds used to augment this line item is $3,984.
Mhm.
So does that mean that the library is gonna be paying this?
No, the reason it got increased by the 3,000 is for several years, they were paying it out of trust funds.
oh, I get it.
And they're including it back into the operating budget at this time because they originally had pulled it out to try to, when we had a few tough years,
Yeah.
leading into COVID and stuff. They were trying to augment their budget a little bit, but now their trust funds are depleting a little bit, so they're throwing it, they're trying to
Putting it
put,
back.
try to put it back into the operating.
We get it,
So we're not paying it
So-
twice. is
Yeah,
what-
no,
Yeah.
Augmenting to put back in the IT services, but they now also want the town to pick up the bill for the fire alarm, the security, the elevator, and their heating system and stuff and everything. So what is the trust fund taking care of?
The trust fund is augmenting with more services like books and AV stuff. And not so much that, but I will tell you that, not off the top of my head, they're not trying to add all of this in this year. Some of this got rejected last year because of default. So that new heating system and the problems that they had with their elevator occurred in they requested those funds in 24, but they got rejected. when it went
Rejected
to
from the
default.
default. Okay.
So now they're all coming in at once now because it's been 2 years now.
so what? Can I ask?
And most certainly with the library and the trustee, I can certainly have Holly and one or more of the trustees come in to present this so that we don't have to vote on this right now. If you have more questions, things like that, this is not a problem. She can answer these things a lot better than I can, but I think I get the gist.
We can technically change this?
No.
I didn't think we could.
What you can do, you can
We
recommend
can
it.
get rid of the, yeah, we
You can recommend it
to
and stuff,
them.
yes. But if they choose to do,
But if they say no, then
Others.
it's no.
yeah, the trustees have the ultimate control. It's like when we had commissioners at the water department before
Right.
the board became commissioners. When they have a separate, it's basically a separate governing board that controls their money.
Guides. Let you guys see what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. It's for transparency.
Yeah.
For transparency. And nobody, I know that you're spelling it out, but nobody comes in and says, well, you can't change it anyways, but I get what
Right.
you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Just have a question. So,
Sure.
I know the library is the trustees.
Yep.
Something like, and I've never really had to deal with with an IT department. 'Cause
Mhm.
that wasn't, I don't think it existed when I was here before.
Yes. Thank you.
And some of these, and I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
can some of these things be contracted to the library? Like the cybersecurity, I don't know what that is. It just says 3984. Depending on what that is, can't that be folded in or subbed out by our town IT department?
So that is contracted to them. And the reason why, to the library, that 32 is their contracted fee. And the reason why is because they're on their own separate network altogether. So they're the only ones that are
Right.
not part of our town network.
So does that make sense? Financial sense
What?
and efficiency sense for them to have their own network like that?
They have some service.
Since I've
So,
been-
so I went and I had a meeting with the trustees this year, at one of their trustees meetings. Josh and I went together, the IT manager. And the question was, that was the explanation, because the trustees, some of them are fairly new, didn't have any idea why they were paying for IT services. And when it was presented to them, they didn't realize that they had their own network.
Some of
So,
them are a little elderly.
They didn't know that, they wanted to know why, they thought they were duplicating services, like the town's paying them to manage the network, to do the cybersecurity, to do the firewalls, to do the updates, and they're like, why are we paying him again to do the same thing? Well, because he has to do it twice, because completely separate. He has to manage their service. So when the discussion came up, and I'm just explaining to you the conversation, because I don't have all the ins and outs, because they have different services. So they have computers that are open to the public. So a lot of the security has
You
to
can-
do with
right,
their.
You can make that,
So basically, that's why they didn't want to jump onto our system. Well, one, because they have 5 computers that are open to the public to utilize, which they can't tag on to our network and our system.
And it might have something to
the-
do with the being part of the American Library Association.
There's
That kind of
different
thing.
services, but the other thing is their website offers different things. So they have a different website that doesn't merge into ours.
Sure.
So we can, people can go
So-
on it if they have an account and order books and that kind of thing.
oh, they pay to manage their own network?
Yes.
So they're paying, they're paying, sorry. They're paying an outside company?
Yes.
So why don't they pay us and why can't we do it?
Well, they also, they're paying an outside they're paying our IT manager to do it separately. Not while he's here working for us. So they put it out to bid. And Josh, what's that? Yeah, they put it out to bid, so when this started, Josh was part-time. So Josh didn't go full-time until a few years ago. So when this started, he was working part-time here, and then he would do some part-time work for the library because they hired him. They asked him to do part-time work. So then he went full-time here. They have since put their services out to bid a few times, a sealed bid, and Josh has bid on it independently against other companies, and that nobody else is, the other companies haven't even come close
So he's
to what he charges.
meaning, I think is what.
Yeah.
Because I know.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, he's got a separate company. When he was part-time, he owned his own company on the side because he couldn't survive on part-time wages. So.
How do we want to proceed with that? Do we want to vote on this or? Everybody comfortable voting on it? I'll make a motion to accept the library's operating budget of $177,106.
I second that.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm gonna abstain.
Doesn't make a difference.
Nope.
You're out of purpose.
So you want to look at patriotic services, there's a significant increase in that one, and the reason why is that
Fireworks.
Yeah, for 2 years. There's 2 fireworks displays. So in 23, we prepaid a contract going into the year. Because of COVID, we lost the fireworks and we had a credit. So it rolled over. And of course, when we went to default, it rolled over at the defaulted amount with that credit taken out. So that 12,750 doesn't reflect, that's not even half of one of the
This
displays.
display cost.
So when we put the money back in last year, it didn't go. So just to tell you that, and I'm gonna put this right out there for you because I put it out there before and I got shot down because I wanted to put it out in a warrant article for the fireworks to see if people still want to pay what they're getting for it. So this 21,190 doesn't even represent the full amount. So 4th of July fireworks for the next 3 years. Next year is $20,000 just for 4th of July. Old Home Week is about 12, 13,000. Then it's going up to 22,000 for 4th of July the following year, and then up to almost 27. So they gave me, I have an email from Atlas, well, it's not Atlas anymore. The company took them out. It's Pyrotechnic something. Gave us 3 months. So then I went out and I hunted for every company I could find. And I also got shot down because 4th of July is not available from any other company. So you either change the weekend and pay a lot less money, or we pay the money and we stay where we're at. Because if we don't pay it, we lose them. There is nobody else left. Every town in the state is vying. Well, actually, most of these companies are out of Mass. And Massachusetts has got a lot of all of this booked up. So I can't get anybody to bid or compete for pricing. It's really the only prices I can get from the people that are available, and the only one that's available is the one that we've always booked because they've reserved the spot for
Kept that
us.
slot for us.
Basically, what you're saying is this is for just one firework show.
Yeah, so basically I offset with some, with funding from this year moving forward because of the big deficit. I didn't want to stack this with another 20 grand or 15 grand.
So you're planning on one firework next year?
No, we're gonna do 2, but, we
Hopefully.
signed a multi-year contract, so.
So the
um,
actual amount has to be in there, right?
What, no, so it's rolled in, there was a deposit put out of this year. So it offsets the balance that's
Doesn't
due
have-
next year.
Does it have to be, gross budget and then
So, but
that would be used? The deposit would be in another line item?
No, because if we,
Because we ran into that with the Parks and Rec doing concerts years ago. They would put down,
yeah,
I'm pulling numbers out of the air, say like $1,000, and they had a contribution of 500, so they'd only put $500 in here.
mhm.
And it was found out, no, you have to gross budget, you gotta put the full amount in there. Then you can put that 500 under revenue or something else, so.
Yeah. That's a little bit different. You are correct in that method, but that's because they had a contribution. And gross budgeting, you have to show that as a revenue over here, but budget the full amount like you're talking about. What I'm talking about doing is that if I have a contracted amount, I can encumber money at the end of the year on an agreed contract. So at the end of the year, I can encumber $10,000, $12,000
So that has
for
to be-
fireworks.
But that has to be somewhere, doesn't it?
The
That-
encumbrance?
That 10 or 12,000 doesn't have to be somewhere?
it comes from somewhere, yes.
Yeah, but it comes out of, the bottom line budget from last year.
It's from-
So this year, well, going forward in this
So
year,
have you paid any money for next year's fireworks yet?
no, but we will before the end of the year.
So it's gonna come out of this year's budget,
Right,
which is the default budget.
right.
And how much are you looking to?
I'm trying to offset, if I put the full amount of the fireworks in here, there's another about $12,000 that has to go in.
I think we should put that money in there because that's what it is. And I know,
Yeah.
I think that's what we should do, because that, to me, that's,
Well, because I think people
Gross.
need to know what these shows are costing them.
I mean,
Instead of trying,
I'm gonna vote for it, the 32, whatever, but I think because you could kind of, and I'm not saying you,
Mm-hmm.
but it could kind of be done where, and I'm just gonna take a computer. So you're gonna buy a supercomputer, we'll say, and it's listed in here at 5,000, but it's actually gonna cost 18,000. So not you, but the town could say, well, let's encumber the 13,000 from this year's budget and we'll offset it so it doesn't look as bad.
Hmm.
I mean, I think what's the actual amount here? Ryan, that you have? Was it
The actual amount, I gotta look it up upstairs. Let me,
I can tell you that we spent 28.5 so far this year without that deposit that you're talking.
right, right.
So,
So this year, so there's another, at least another 10,000, because the 4th of July fireworks alone is 20 grand.
okay,
And then Old Home Week, I believe, is it's about 11,000, I think, 11,800, somewhere around there.
okay, so
I have an email from them on
Talking
my desk.
32.
I just don't have it in my book.
32,000 is.
okay, so do I make a motion that we change that line item to 32,000? Because that's the actual cost. What it's gonna cost us. It's not gonna cost 20, it's gonna cost, if we do that, it's gonna cost 32,800. Money will come in to offset it. But I think we have to have the gross number in there. That's my opinion.
Otherwise, you're gonna keep chasing it year after year.
We are gonna check.
See a huge increase, you know,
Yeah.
next
Okay,
year
so-
budget or.
Yeah.
There's gonna be an unprecedented, I am trying to soften the blow, there's no telling about it. But the reason why in this year in particular is this has the unprecedented wage increase. Cause we've never had to overcome a wage increase in the budget of almost 14%. Normally, if we go to default, it's 4% or 5%. And that's all we're making up. It's over double that. So there are other areas that, yes, I was trying to soften the blow. I do get exactly what you're saying.
So,
I mean, I do think the people need to know what this costs,
But
but,
I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think, when it comes to this, I don't think they care.
oh, I don't think so either.
I don't think it's gonna
I
matter.
have brought up the question of eliminating one fireworks.
Yeah, you,
Back to one.
not
I got,
even a question.
I got booed out of the room.
Yeah.
I'm sure. because they-
Say that when we
Huge.
get everybody.
For the investment of 2 fireworks
Absolutely.
sessions, you know, I think.
Well, I think that depends
It's
on who
big.
you're talking to.
Oh, it does. There's
and
no
who
doubt about
you're- and because- Nope. Down, I can sit and watch.
it.
Speaking of that, I know I know would be impossible to do, but it would be great if you could figure out a way, we could figure out a way to assess a fee to people who actually watch the fireworks. I know that's nuts, but.
We can set a toll booth up. On the bridge.
I was thinking up the bay, you know,
That's
$20
right.
a boat up the bay,
Yeah.
got it covered.
It's a lot of.
Holy moly.
It's a lot of money. And
Considering that the next night, they're just going and watching them in Wilkes-Barre. And you can go up and see them every weekend up in the Weirs. So I'm like, it's a.
yeah, the big thing is, and you're seeing it right now because Atlas was a smaller company. They got bought out by this big pyrotechnics company.
Right.
They've bought up a lot of the smaller ones. So now the companies that are out there through the Managers Association that I've been looking at their listserv is that they have a lot of big companies. And like I said, they're not even booking for 4th of July. It's the weekend before, it's a few days before, or an off weekend. But they basically, or they're gouging
Yeah.
because you have no
Like
option. No, yeah,
They know they've got.
yeah.
Like buying roses for Mother's Day.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Exactly.
Why not? Put it in a warrant article and let people know what it's gonna cost
Dear.
for this to happen and let the town vote on whether they wanna spend the money or not.
Yeah.
I'm
but
all
the pro-
for it.
the
I
problem is-
for it.
Right.
We can take the money away, but it's still gonna come back and the Board of Selectmen make that decision, not us. We're here to deal with the money.
But I would say if the board, I don't necessarily think the board would disagree if the budget committee felt strongly that it should just be put out to the people so that they see it at that point. I mean,
well,
Because I don't see how this, it just seems to me that leave it up to the people to decide if they want that on their tax bill or not.
And I'm a big advocate for leave it up to the people.
yeah,
But
thanks. It's in trouble last year on that one.
I just, I mean, like I said, I don't have. It's 20 grand and it's expensive. But I just think we're gonna pay it regardless.
32.
Yeah, 30
To 32.
What's that?
Did I get a second? If I don't, I'm gonna change my motion. Okay, so,
Second.
so my motion is to change line item 802 to 32,8, bottom line of 33,990. That's my motion.
What was it, 32.8, you said?
32,8 for that line item,
Okay.
802, and then the bottom line would be 33,990.
So there's a motion on the table to change line 802 to 32,800. It leaves the bottom line of 33,990. Do I have a second?
Second.
Did you second?
Yeah.
Okay,
Second.
all right. So any more discussion?
Well, I think the discussion is, do you want this taken to the Board of
I
Selectmen?
think it has to be.
To be presented as a separate article?
Yes.
So if we do this, I think we're saying as a board, okay, we want the gross number in there, and the selectmen, we're suggesting to you, put it as a warrant article. And if you say, if the selectmen vote to do it, then we can come back and say, okay, let's reduce it to whatever.
Right.
But this is just a suggestion to the selectmen maybe, or? I don't know, that's,
I mean, this is one of, I have no issue with the 32.8 or the 33,990. So if we get a motion in a second, I'll call it as all those in favor.
I,
Aye.
Aye. I'm okay with it. We're gonna do it anyway.
And we're gonna fund it one way.
We're gonna fund it one way or the other.
so since we're talking about encumbrances, can I make a formal request? Get a list of the encumbrances from the 24 budget. As soon as they're done by the selectmen, can we get a report?
Encumbrances, yes.
But it
There
was,
would have been.
Right, but it was mentioned already, so I just want to put it on record that I'd like to get
That-
the money that's encumbered from 24. Say it's $50 and they're gonna spend $30 on rubber bands. I want to see that. And
We won't see that till the end of the year though,
Yeah,
right?
that won't.
December.
We should see it in January.
Yeah,
before-
Yeah, before deliberative.
And we usually got it before our public hearings. Now, I don't know if that's still how, but that's,
Well, it'll be
normally
probably
for the-
before Christmas. I'll
Yeah.
present to the board.
yeah, just on record, so in case I forget, that's.
Yeah.
All right. And I'm not trying to micromanage, it's just nice to know. Like, I mean, because if we hadn't asked 20,000 and it's, the gross number is another 11,800. Or what, I can't even read mine. But whatever, I think it's important.
Keep going, or do we want to hold these?
I'll see if I can pick out, if you go to streetlights
Okay,
and elections, we could probably, and welfare, we could probably bang those out pretty quick.
okay. Oh, yeah. really can.
Streetlights hasn't changed much because we have the same amount of streetlights. We'll tell you, there was big developments this year. We discovered a brand new streetlight on School Street that nobody was paying for. And we found an old one that was doing absolutely no good.
Yeah.
So we paid for the new one and we got rid of the
Got
old
the old
one.
one
So that was the big happenings with streetlights.
So not to ask a stupid question, but is that enough money? Because there's only 19% left the first of September. I don't know. I'm just asking.
Yeah. Historically, we've been okay with it.
Okay.
The only thing that fluctuates a little bit is not so much the usage as it is if we have to replace one. Repair or something,
Yeah.
that's where it does, so.
I'll make a motion that we approve 4316 in the amount of 33,500.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Go to elections and registrations, everybody's favorite line. You'll love this one. Any questions? And I think the common sense answer to that is we don't have any elections next year.
We're missing a couple of elections.
Yeah, we're missing two of them, so it's basically a 50% reduction.
Where did you find all the money for 2024 and all the elections, you know?
Oh, no, that was in the default. Because elections is a state law.
Yeah.
So that has to be included in the default, so we didn't have to come up with that. Thank God.
I'll make a motion to, accept the operating budget for elections and registrations.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, then welfare. You know, look at that, that one's level funded too. Yeah, I'll tell you, the one thing with welfare is obviously we don't know what we're gonna run into
Yeah,
for assistant.
that's, one of those.
Yeah, I will say that we're in the process right now of changing the assistant levels with, and presenting them to the board because our rental
It's
levels
starting to
are
get
drastically. Yeah, but we're drastically low, like we only pay a max of $600. Rent's like $2,300. So we're not gonna, we don't pay the whole amount, but to offset a realistic amount, we're gonna increase those. So we did go down, we used to budget $50,000 and, back around 23, we had reduced general assistance to 18 because we just historically were budgeting it as a precaution, but never raising to that level.
Right.
Because we do have, you know, obviously there's an application process, there's rules and regulations as to.
A lot of people are
who
using
qualifies.
it, we found.
Yeah, we did find, and I think part of it is Alton just doesn't have a lot of housing stock
Right.
or affordable housing stock. So a lot of we have a limited amount of rentals compared to, say, Rochester or Farmington.
Right.
They have mass amounts of rentals in their downtown area. We just don't. So a lot of it, the other thing is like the Heike Fund. We budget $5,000 in there, but the Heike Fund, there's actually a trust. The William Heike Trust, and that, again, that's specific to seniors. So if you're a senior trying to stay in your own home, we can utilize money out of that for any senior to help them remain in their home. It's specific for those, the trust is written out that way. So we have various methods of funding welfare for different circumstances. We also have the East Alton Fire Association put $25,000 in, and we can spend up to like $2,000 or $3,000 a year until it's depleted for general welfare issues too. So we have these funds that have come in between so not just the general assistance that's raised through taxation. We have these other areas.
There's other outside agencies that help with
Yes,
the,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, they're not really outside funding. sources,
Funding,
yeah.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Right, just have a question
sure.
on the wages.
Mm-hmm.
It's more than 4%. Is that one of those 10%, 4% things?
Yes.
Okay, so the actual wasn't. So it's like, this was done like the library was done. Right? Cause 3698 times 1.04 would be.
So you do the 3698 times 1.1 and then multiply that times 1.04.
But I was saying the other town departments did it just 4%. And they took the actual paid this year?
Right, but we're back to that whole
Right.
discussion about we're
So-
looking at a budget from 23 as our baseline. So
Right,
then,
but these numbers were done like the library was done, not like some of the other departments was done, where it had the actual plus 4%.
Well, I will tell you that this one, the only difference between this one and the other ones is this one's a stipend. It's not an hourly rate. It's a fixed stipend.
So does the 4% apply to that? And the 10% apply to it, or is it just?
Yes.
Who did?
so it is a stipend.
36, that was established for the position. Yeah, for the welfare
That was created.
assistant, yeah.
So there hasn't been a raise for a while?
No,
Okay, and again, I can't see back past 24, so, okay.
actually lower than that. 10%, 4%. So I'll make a motion to approve the welfare department budget of 27,989.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Call it a night on budgets.
Yeah.
A motion that we adjourn?
Oh, wait a minute. We
I
gotta,
got other big,
The agenda.
just a couple of minor things on.
with you on that. but-
You have another meeting set up there?
I think the 30th.
That's what I was.
That's what he's getting to. Yeah. 30th.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yep, sorry.
Yeah, I've got it on my calendar for the
Yep.
30th.
So do I. I don't do Halloween, is it Halloween?
No, that's the 31st. Oh, it's been.
I just don't. Okay. I mean, I had stuff on my calendar from the 30th, and then I go to the first, so. It's just because I didn't.
Yeah,
add-
30th.
Sixth is available in November, which is
Which is just the following week.
the following Wednesday. I don't know whether or not I can go out. You want to go out one more week? Do it every 2 weeks, or do you want to try to get one?
What's really our deadline here?
Well, really, it's all gonna depend on, I mean, the ultimate deadline, the public hearing has to be like I can't remember the exact date. I have to look at the NHMA calendar. But usually the public hearing's like the first few days of January.
Okay.
Do you guys post our meetings or do we have to post them?
No, we, usually, Stacy goes.
Okay.
So she'll put together an agenda and send it out to, well, now Rock.
Yeah.
Just for a general, we don't usually put a lot of detail in it unless we know for sure what we're gonna present. I mean, like I said tonight, I had no idea which budgets we were gonna go over or what we are gonna cover, other than you were gonna get your books tonight, so.
For the 6th, I'm not 100% sure I'll be functioning then, since it's the day after the general election.
Oh, that's a good point.
There's a good
Very
point.
good
I'll
point.
be working that too.
I mean,
Yeah, is the 13th
till
available?
4 a.m.
It's a great. They better not go to 4 AM. I can't stay up that late.
We have an accurate machine, so it should be pretty good.
It was pretty impressive.
Those things were good.
I
Yeah.
remember the first year we had the machine. I challenged the vote on it was within a few votes. On the town grader, I think, when they bought it. Because it was close enough that you could do it. I
Yeah.
said, you know what, I wanna see if the machines are accurate, it was only off one vote. Just because I was curious, that's all.
Yeah.
Hmm?
13th? November 13th.
Oh, is that the second? Beth, is that the?
It
second?
is.
You,
Is that bad?
Yeah, I can't do the 13th. We can't do the 13th.
Wait, what's the
I can do the
13th?
6th. I don't care if it's the day after work. But is everybody else gonna be busy or tired or?
I'm planning on being exhausted.
You know what, I'll take a nap. Which I never do, but.
Well, I have to go to
I
work.
mean, all.
What's the conflict of
Because
interest?
I have-
What did I miss?
So we're not
There-
doing the
there-
30th?
Yeah, the 30th.
Okay.
Is booked. I
Okay,
mean, we were already scheduled for the 30th.
all right, so. I mean, I'm okay with the 6th, 7th or the 8th. I just can't do the 13th.
Anybody available on the seventh?
I can be.
It's the room is the problem.
Yeah, because that's zoning night, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Heike room isn't available yet. When's that gonna be done?
Foggiest idea.
It's still a mess.
What's construction over there? What's going on over there?
Elevator. Well, they had to take apart the bathroom first. Are we not discussing that?
It's one of the only other thing we got at Mondays at the end, you got the 18th. Mondays. So, but we got run into a couple of weeks of really cut short with holidays too, because you got Thanksgiving weekend there. And you got Veterans Week.
18th, I have a school board meeting. So
Let's just go with the sixth. Let's just go with the sixth.
The 6th?
We'll just force through.
What?
Don't raise your voices, cause I'll be over here napping.
What we'll do is, what we'll do is we'll lean on the other selectmen longer, okay? We'll put it out to them, tell them we have commitments now. All right, we'll go with the 6th.
And we'll have budgets for the other missing ones by the 30th?
Yeah, it should, hopefully, the only thing that's unsure of right now is I'm at the mercy of Primex right now, because Primex hasn't given us any of our insurance rates. So we already have our medical and dental we already got. So those are the big ones. But the insurance and medical and dental is usually a sore spot, so.
Well, we don't have a say in that anyway. We can cut it, but the money's gonna be spent, or we could raise it, but so.
We get to do this all again at work.
So,
So, approval of minutes, which.
yeah, so here's where we're at with the minutes. I gave them to the board last week.
Yeah, they're in
should
there,
be a
yeah.
Copy. So these minutes were the minutes that were done at the end of last year. I think the only two people present would be Priscilla and Beth, I don't think you were there. It doesn't say. Oh, Priscilla, you weren't there for the January ones either. So here's what I did. I called legal counsel because I didn't know what to do. So we have a couple options. Legal counsel told me that that the committee as it sits now can approve them as written with basically the disclaimer or the comment that the members at the time that were present are no longer on the board. He said that's perfectly legal. He said the law actually says all you are required to do is take minutes.
You don't
He
have to
said,
vote on them.
he said you don't even have to vote on them. We can
Right.
put them on there in draft form. So I can either post them in draft form or the board can, like I said, make a motion to approve them as written with, like I said, the disclaimer or the sidebar that the applicants that were, or the members at the time are no longer on the board or sitting at the board now. But the current board is approving them as written to the best of their knowledge. something along those lines. So either way, legal has said we can do it, and I guess it all comes down to the board's preference. If you want, we can.
I'd make a motion that we post them in their draft form.
I'll second that. That's a good
Yeah.
idea.
I'm uncomfortable voting this, with somebody.
That's something I haven't even seen, yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Okay, all right. Other business? Nothing?
That
We're up
motion.
to-
Second that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Please turn your microphones off for me.
I'll make sure sheets are-
Yeah.